Distances over water is measured in nautical mile, which is completely different than the distances based on the land mile. By the way, do you know the word mile comes from the Latin word mille passus? I might be butchering the Latin, but it means 1,000 steps. Ancient mariners used to gauge the speed of their vessel by throwing a piece of wood or a floating object over the bow of the vessel and counting time as the object passed through the stern. This method was known as Dutchman's log. By late 16th century, sailors began using chip log to measure the speed. This is a pie-shaped piece of wood attached to a line and weighted down at one end so that it can float vertically. This chip log presented substantial resistance to the water flowing around it. The chip log was cast over the stern of the vessel and the line was allowed to pay out. A series of knots were made on the line at 47 feet 3 inches or 14.40 meter from each other, and the line was allowed to pass through the fingers of the sailor as the vessel was moving ahead. Meantime, another sailor used a 30-second sand glass to time the entire operation. This method gives the value of knot as 20.25 inches per second or 1.85166 km per hour. Or if you prefer metric system, then it is 0.514444 meter per second, or roughly about 1.15 statute mile. Now this is for the speed of the vessel, but what about the distance travelled over water? Nautical miles are used to measure distances travelled over the water. The nautical mile is actually based on Earth's geographical coordinate latitude and longitude, with 1 nautical mile equaling about 1 minute of arc of latitude. But why use a different measurement system for marine navigation? Using latitude-longitude coordinates are more practical while traveling a long distances over the water, where the curvature of the earth becomes a factor in accurate measurement. Nautical charts use latitude and longitude, so it was far easier for the mariners to use latitude, longitude and nautical miles for distance measurement. Do you know that the air and space travel also uses the latitude longitude for navigation and nautical mile for distance measurement? International nautical mile is used throughout the world. The measurement was set at exactly 1.852 km in 1929 by what is now known as International Hydrographic Society. US and UK both used a slightly different method of measurements, but later both of them accepted the International Nautical Mile. US adopted the International Nautical Mile in 1954 and UK followed suit in 1970. The distance in nautical miles between the equator and the pole is by definition 90 degrees times 60 minutes or 5,400 nautical miles, which is very close to 10,000 kilometers. This seems pretty plain until unless we come across the fact that Earth is not a perfect sphere. It's bloated at the equator and little bit squashed at the poles, and so it is known as an oblate spheroid. The polar radius of the Earth is 6356.752 km, and which is also known as the semi-minor axis. And at the equator it is 6378.137 km, which is also known as the semi-major axis. After various mathematical analysis in the 19th century, an Englishman named Alexander Ross Clark came up with the idea of a spheroid, referred by the scientist as the figure of the Earth, which became the standard way of conceiving the shape of this Earth. That oblateness of the Earth also messes with the nautical mile. If you take this shape into account, 1 minute of arc of latitude at the equator is 1842.9 meters, but at the North Pole it is 1861 1.7 meters. In 1929, the International Extraordinary Hydrographic Conference in Monaco decided to fix this value as 1852 meters or 6077 feet as the length of the nautical mile. This compromise of the distances at the equator and the North Pole works out to be the length of the nautical mile at 48-degree latitude. The actual distance around the earth at equator is about 40,075 kilometers or roughly about 24,901 miles. So, 1 equatorial minute is equivalent to 1855.4 meter. Though the nautical mile was defined based on the minutes, it varies just a little from the equatorial minute. Now, you might ask me how the length of the meter is standardized or calculated. The meter was originally defined in 1793 as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from equator to the North Pole along the Great Circle. But the meter is currently defined as the length of the travel of light in a vacuum, which comes as 1/299,792,458 of a second. One historical fact for you. The concept of degree, minute, second is taken from the Babylonian astronomy and timekeeping. Influenced by the Sumerians, ancient Babylonians divided the sun's perceived motion across the sky over the course of full day into 360 degrees. Each degree was subdivided into 60 minutes and each minute into 60 seconds. Thus, 1 Babylonian degree is equivalent to 4 minutes in modern terminology, and 1 Babylonian minute is equivalent to 4 seconds in modern terminology. If you want to know more about the latitude longitude, then you should have a look at these 2 videos. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below.